which is the Tekken World Tour.
Ooh, Tekken, my favorite game, my favorite fighting game. So the Tekken World Tour Finals is happening in Amsterdam this weekend, going on, and some of my friends are already arriving, and they're taking pictures of Amsterdam, and they're excited. They're gonna have an LCQ, so this LCQ is pretty crazy. LCQ, I think there's only one winner. They're gonna have like 320 plus players fighting for this last spot. So the top 20 players move on to fight for the World Championships of Tekken. 19 spots are already filled, and the 20th spot is going to be decided from this LCQ. So a lot of my friends, I don't know if I had a favorite to pick for this LCQ. I do have a couple friends that are going to be participating, so.
I mean, this LCQ is like hundreds of entrants, though, right?
Yeah, it's like over 300. Yeah.
It's not like just some LCQ or a few people are entering. It's literally every heavy hitter that is not currently qualified.
Yeah, there's so many strong players, and I can't wait to see how this unfolds. And who's crowned the Tekken Iron Fist champion of Tekken 7.
I know, it should be interesting. I mean, let's talk about some of the people who are already qualified, right? The LCQ is obviously for people who are trying to get their last chance qualifier.
Right.
So, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but looking at who's already qualified, naming off the top three, we have Ni, Jianding, and Kurans.
Yeah. All
wow.
legends of the game. They're all killers.
Yeah. Break that down real quick, because that sounds OD.
Okay, so Ni is probably, I would say, favored to win the tournament. Also, a lot of them considered the strongest player in the world. He plays multiple characters at a high level, and he's won multiple events throughout this tour. John Ding, he's kind of a newer player, but he's been around the block for a while. He's also Korean. He's been to, I think, the most events this year. Him and Dimebag have been to the most events this year. So John Ding is also a huge favorite to win. And Q-Dons is also the reigning champion from last year, 2017, and he kind of was a breakout player who came out from like a 10-year hiatus to play, and rocking the Devil Jin. And so that top three right there is just so strong. It'd be hard to pick a winner or a favorite out of those three, for sure.
And that's three of how many people are qualified? 20?
19 are qualified, and the 20th players.
All right, and so 19 are qualified. 20th place is the LCQ winner, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if we're taking a quick look here at who's at the tipping point. So 19th place, Jimmy J Tran.
Jimmy J, shout out to Jimmy J, NorCal.
Right, he's a veteran in the scene, but at the cusp. What's up with that?
I mean, he likes to take it easy, or he might not try to go to every event. But this year, he went to just enough to barely squeak in at number 19 with 460 points. So shout out to Jimmy. It's pretty amazing that he was able to accomplish this, even though he didn't go to every event.
Yeah, I mean that's just 50 short points away from the 20th place, which is Dimebag, who you're pretty familiar with.
Yeah,
right?
Dimebag's a good friend of mine, and I've been rooting for him a lot, and he's been to a lot of events also. And, Tekken is such a strong, hard game that it was just hard for him to qualify, and he barely missed out. So, I wish him good luck at the LCQ, and, hopefully he gets to get in there.
Yeah, how do you feel about his chances in LCQ? Because I know it's pretty stacked, but, this is Dimebag after all. I've been watching his videos a lot recently.
Yeah, I think Dimebag is the best Asuka in the world, so that's pretty high. But like you said, there's only one winner and like over 300-something players trying to fight for this one spot. So it's going to be hard. I would say he could maybe make it into the top 8, but we'll see what happens once that happens. So.
Okay, so you say, best Asuka in the world, but we have Fergus here up at 12th place, also with Asuka. I don't know. I think I'm going to need some explaining here. Well, Dimebag's the best, but what's up? Fergus is already qualified.
Yeah, maybe on paper it looks like Fergus is the best Asuka right now, but we'll see after this tournament or how Fergus does.
I mean, are there any major differences between Dimebag and Fergus?
Fergus comes from Europe and Dimebag comes from Korea, so that's kind of like a difference in communities, or I would consider Korea a stronger community than Europe.
So what does that really say about Dimebag and Fergus? If Dimebag's from a stronger community and Fergus is placed higher.
I mean, maybe it's easier for Fergus to to be considered the best Asuka if he's coming from Europe, which might be a little lighter or softer community than Korea. So, it's hard to say who's the best. But they're definitely both top two.
Have they faced off against each other?
I think they've played each other a couple times in tournament, but it's hard to say who's better just off that. You kind of have to go off overall tournament performance and how they do against other players, top players and stuff like that. So I think they're both very strong players. They're both obviously in the top 20 in the world.
Okay.
So we'll see how this weekend unfolds.
Yeah, that is coming up this weekend. And, before we move on, I know Tran's going to jump into a breakdown very soon. But one last question about these standings before we get there. We do have Saint coming in 4th, JDCR coming in 6th. 2 players recently dropped from Echo Fox, going into the World Tour, already qualified. What's that about? I don't know. I feel like that was a mistake.
I don't know if it's a mistake, but 2 players that are well-deserving. You're both EVO champions.
Heavy hitters. These guys are no slouches. It's kind of crazy.
Esports is tough. Echo Fox, maybe they're making some adjustments or moves on their team. So both these players won't be free agents for long, no doubt. They're both homies of mine. So they're both very strong players, and they're both going to make it very far in this tournament. So, it's a shame that they're not sponsored during this tournament, but it could be a blessing, going to this tournament as a free agent or whatnot. So
exactly, you never know. Wishing the best for these guys going into Tekken World Tour, but I think it's time to break it down. I know you wanted to go over grand finals of a recent event.
So my favorite match of the World Tour 2018 was Book versus Knee, and this is in Thailand. It's called Tiger Uppercut 2018, and
this is the reset, right?
So the little backstory on this match is that Knee actually knocked Book into losers 3-1 earlier in this tournament. So kind of like a run back we had earlier with Tim and Soul Calibur. So Book is trying to run it back here, and I think Paul he decided to pick Paul one time. But for the most part, I think Knee went with Kazuya. So, And Book being the local boy from Thailand, and Knee being the best player coming off a victory from final round. So he's going for 2 straight, master event victories here. And, Book's trying to make this comeback here.
So from the first set, going into this reset, what was that like? Because right now we're covering the reset, but the first one was a lot closer, right?
Yeah, so after Knee knocked Book in the losers from the winner's bracket, the reset was actually 3-1. So it was very convincing. Like you said earlier, that when players are coming from the losers bracket, they have a lot of momentum. So maybe Knee got cold a little bit, waiting around for him to play, waiting around for the winner of the losers finals. And then a combination of that and Book having some momentum coming from the losers, and after the reset. So this is the reset we're watching here. It's 0-0, 1 round apiece.
And what do you think about this Paul pick? Because he wasn't using this character in the first set.
Okay, so the Paul pick was to try to do something different to throw him off, because Kazuya, it worked in the winners finals, but it did not work in the reset 3-1. So he wanted to try to set the tempo off for this reset and try to get like a quick start to this, or a quick 1-0. Yeah. So
how do you feel about the matchup between you two? Was he a good character to pick for this reset to try to do that?
I think Paul might have been a good change from Kazuya, but Kazuya was working. I just think it all depends on how you're playing going in. So Book was playing very hot coming in, so it might not even matter what character that Knee switched to. But as you can see right now, Book's just on fire right now. He just beat Knee in the reset 3-1, and it looks like he's about to be straight on this Paul. So maybe it was a mistake switching to Paul.
Maybe so, because it's looking like that's a free point on the board. And then, I may have seen this footage a little bit.
Yeah.
And now that he switches characters. So how do you feel? Because I have also noticed, even back during Red Bull Conquest, that a lot of Tekken players have pocket characters. They have different characters for different matchups. So what kind of role do you think that plays going into tournament play?
There are certain matchups that you might find troubling, so it's good to have a secondary character, and you might have an easier time with that, even though your main character is better than your secondary. So In this case, Nee just went back to the Kazuya. This is what was working before. Even though he lost in the reset, I'm just going to go back to it. Paul was not working. He almost got no round rounder. In this case, almost didn't even get around in there. So he went back to Kazuya. And it's hard to stop somebody with momentum coming in here. He just got reset, and he's down the first game. So this is a very important key match for Nee here.
But so far so good. He got the first round there, but wow. I think it's difficult in this game particularly because you might gain the momentum, but the second you start feeling comfortable, like everything goes another way. I don't know. Is that just the pace of Tekken in general?
Yeah, it's kind of like fast-paced chess, and if somebody is on fire or has momentum, it's hard to check them or stop them. So, that's the game. The game is constantly adjusting to each other.
Yeah, and what a dominating round.
Yeah.
I feel like most of these rounds, they'll either be all the way in favor of one person or the other. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they're definitely slugging it out here. They're both trying to play patient, but they're finding their moments here to go for something big here.
So what do you feel about this matchup in general between these two characters?
I think it's pretty even, but Jin is very strong. This match was actually season 1, but there's been a season 2 patch, and Jin is not, if not the same, better. So
which type of changes did they implement into him?
They just gave him a couple little more additions to his game. So he's pretty much the same character, but they gave him a few more extensions. So some of his combos and wall combos are better. And he was already a strong character from before. He also has a parry, which is very strong tool to deal with other players and their craziness. Wow, this wall pressure.
And how often has these guys played against each other?
This was probably their first meeting of the year.
Oh, okay. Wow, the whole year. This is the first time.
This is the first. Well, this tournament was maybe the second biggest. Second master or big event of the tour.
Nice.
Final round being the first master event. So, Nee coming off his victory at final round. This was like his. All right, let me go for 2 in a row.
Right.
Let me test you, and he's not necessarily a Kazuya main. Nee actually plays 4 or 5 characters at a super high level. So, in a way, he's kind of being stubborn because he wants to beat him with this character that he's decided to beat him with. It's not necessarily his main character, but
right, because I think I've heard through the grapevine that Nee's the best.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
Ooh. Yeah. So now here, books up 2-0. Switch the stage. I don't know if that was a good idea, but this stage is very crazy with the floor breaks and.
Yeah, just like a lot of extra potential damage, right? With all of these
Yeah, but sometimes you just need a
additions.
momentum change. So regardless if it's going to be in your favor or not, Nee just needed something to throw him off. He's down 0-2. He just got reset. He's got to win. And another thing about this is that he's committed to this character. So
right.
he has to. If he wants to win the set, he has to win it with Kazuya. He's got to win 3 straight. So.
I mean, what do you think are the main things to look out for in this matchup?
I think this matchup is very space heavy and movement heavy. So, a lot of these players are shimmying and moving around and waiting for each other to whiff. They're both not so that was a good punish. So a lot of patience. Both looking for that big hit.
Hashtag patience.
Yeah, that's right. I think Kazuya does well in dealing with Jin and some of his stuff. So he can punish some of his lows better than other characters. But I think Jin is just so strong, and I don't think he has any bad matchups, and he can fight the other Mishimas very well also.
So at this point, it's 2-0, right? Is this something that people aren't used to seeing? Because I remember you talking a lot about who's the best.
Yeah, yeah. So people aren't used to seeing Nee being down here, and he just won final round. So, but this is Book. We've heard of Book before. He's from Thailand, so a country that you might not see a lot of exposure from, but us Tekken players know who he is, and he's very strong. Probably the best Jin in the world. I would consider. So.
And it looks like he's been dominating this reset pretty heavily so far. Do you notice anything in particular in his gameplay that's giving him that advantage?
Yeah, I think he's definitely playing more confident. He's definitely see a lot of these dashing in his face, and his combos and his neutral game, everything, his pokes, and he's not being scared of me. A lot of people were scared of him, so looks like he's
right. That is a thing, right? Like top play. People talk about top player privilege all the time, but I feel like that goes beyond IRL. That is a mental thing. When you're playing against a top player, it's so easy to psych yourself out because these guys are good players, but that's losing half the battle right there. You know?
Yeah, it's kind of like having your mind on something before the match even starts. So I have experience with that personally with me and other players, and also with me and some of these other guys. So it's definitely hard to deal with, and it's definitely a big part of the game, for sure. But maybe Book has the home court advantage because he's in Thailand. He has the crowd behind him, and there's people cheering for him. So.
Ooh, and then the legs.
Yeah.
Closing
As you
it
can
out.
see,
Yeah,
so
everybody getting
hype. People are hype and they're happy, super happy. We just beat the best player. Ooh, shout outs to Book, man. That was a huge victory.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. And I was trying to look. Oh yeah, Book is number 11 right now on the Tekken World Tour standings, which means you guys will see him this weekend at the Tekken World Tour. That's going down in Amsterdam.
Yeah, I'll be rooting for Book.
I'm jealous.
So.
I'm pretty jealous.
Me too.
But it's all good. Great breakdown, like resetting a bracket against one of the best in the world and then taking it 3-0 after that. It's got to feel pretty nice.
Yeah, it's a good feel-good story, and, it kind of brought Nee down to earth because he just won that final round the year before that, or the tournament right before that, so, he wasn't an alien, he was human, so.